Welcome back to the VDC space. Today we're going to be doing a solar panel parking in Revit. This is a very interesting project. We just gonna generate the steelwork, which can be used as a mount, and then we're gonna load in. Remember the solar panels that we generated from the previous project of solar panels and mount. We're gonna load them in our project, and then the only thing we're gonna really model is the mount and the steel work and also the connections, and then we're gonna place our parkings. Now, before I get started, I would like to ask you guys to please subscribe to the channel if you're new. If you already subscribed, hit the notification button as I upload BIM modeling tutorials and Revit tutorials 3 times every week. I cover different topics from wastewater to structural engineering, architecture, roads and networks, bridges, and so on. And another thing, I would really appreciate it if you guys support my Patreon. I just recently started it, and you can see the link in the description. Please support my Patreon. There are two options. You can go with the membership, and also you can go with the free membership. The membership, you can go with the membership where you pay, and also the membership that is free. But the membership where you pay, you can get a lot more content in terms of what I produce. You can get different BIM models, files, and also those bridges that I have produced. And also the free version, you can still get some of the files I produced based on the videos I uploaded on YouTube. So there are different options. Now, without further ado, let's jump into Revit. So in Revit 24, I'm just going to open up the construction template. And the first thing is I'm just going to load in the family of parking. So I'm just going to go to Insert Load Family and go to Metric Library. And then I'm going to go to Parking. And then I'm going to choose this Parking Disabled Base. Or I'm just going to go with actually Parking Standard Base. And say Open. Override the existing views. And then I'm going to go to Architecture and say Component. So as you can see, this is what we have. We're just gonna, when we scroll down under family, we have 6 base and 12 base. So I'm just gonna go with 12 base, and then I'm gonna place it like this. And then I'm just gonna select my views and extend them beyond our parking so we can see everything. And then I'm just gonna select my views and extend them beyond our family so that we can see everything in these constraints. And then I'm just gonna select my parking base and then mirror them. So I'm gonna offset them by 6,000 from each other. So I'm gonna choose my dimensions from this point until this point, and then drag it towards the left, and then select my second view, and then adjust my offset and make it 6,000 millimeters. Perfect. And now if I open up my 3D view, this is what we have. So I'm just gonna select my levels, right click and say maximize 3D extend. Do the same thing for level 2, maximize 3D extend. The next thing is I'm gonna go to my actually let me just go to my level 0, and then I'm just gonna place only one grid. So on this side I'm just gonna place a single grid because it's gonna come in handy in terms of placing my structural components for our parking deck. So I think it's fine as A. So, and then I'm gonna go back to my south elevation. So on my south elevation, I'm just gonna rename this to 00 dash base, press enter, say yes. And then the second one, I'm gonna rename it to 01 dash, and then I'm gonna rename this one to, so I'm just gonna rename this one to panels. I think it's fine as panels, and say yes. And then I'm just gonna change the offset to 3,310 instead of 4,000. Perfect. I'm just gonna drag this right there. Perfect. And then back to the base. So this is what we have. So I'm just gonna produce the structural views. I'm gonna go to view, and then under plan views, I'm gonna drop down to structural plan, and then select these two and say okay. Now I'm just gonna work with the structural plans. And if I go back to the floor plan, the base, I'm just gonna select my my two parking bays and say copy, and then I'm gonna align it to the base so they are identical. If I open up the structural plan, they do appear there. So I'm just going to change this to fine. So this is how it looks. And then, so we're in the structural plan for the base, and let me just unachieve this again. So it's 6,000 perfect. And now the first thing is for our solar panel mount or our structural components for our deck, we're gonna use four components actually. So we're gonna have the column, the steel column, and also the steel bracing, and then the steel beam, and also the another steel beam for our beam system that's gonna be placed on top, which is gonna support our solar panels. So let's start with our column. So for our column, we're gonna go to insert and say load family, metric library, UK contents. We're gonna go to structural columns, and then we're gonna say steel, and then British standards. And just gonna enlarge this. So we're gonna load in UB, universal beams and columns, and then we're gonna load in 305 by 127 by 37. So it's gonna be 305 by 127 by 37 and say okay. Perfect. Now we're gonna go to structure column, and then make sure your constraints are set to height instead of depth, and then make sure your top level is set to panels. Now we're gonna place it like this. So I'm just gonna place it there and then align it to the end of this parking bay like this. And then make sure it's centered. So perfect. So I'm gonna select it and then press copy, and then I'm gonna copy it to the other lines. So we're gonna skip one line, and then we're gonna place it on another line. So it's each span is gonna take two parking bays. So it's gonna be like this, and then we're gonna skip one, and then place it like this, skip another one, place it like this, skip another one, place it like this, and then skip another one, and then we're gonna place it like this. Perfect. And go to the 3D view, and this is what we have so far. So in this moment, we're just gonna work with one side. We're not gonna touch the other side. After we finish everything, we're just gonna copy everything to the other side. So let's go back to the base. Now here we are in the base. So the next thing is we're just gonna place our concrete bases. So we're gonna go to insert, load family, electric library, UK contents, and say structural foundations, and say pad foundations, rectangle, and say open. And then we're gonna load in our pad foundations. So we're gonna go with 1,000 by 500. Go to structure, and the structure we're gonna go to foundation and say isolated, and then we're gonna place it like this. So it's gonna automatically detect the middle, the central section of our beams. So we're just gonna place it like that. So if you open up our 3D view, this is how it looks. Now the next thing is before we move upwards, I'm just gonna apply the base plates to this. So for our base plates, we're gonna go to steel. Then when under connections, we're gonna click on this arrow that's pointing diagonally downwards in order for us to load our connection contents. So it's gonna take some time to load everything. And then I'm gonna select the first connection and then scroll down and then press shift on my keyboard and then select the last one and say and then I'm gonna add it onto our library and say okay. Perfect. And now the next thing is I'm gonna select my connection, select my structural column and then my base and press enter. And then I'm gonna drop down under my properties and then I'm gonna select base plate. And now base plate is automatically applied, but obviously you can't see it. That's because we have to set up our view, our visibility graphics. So I'm gonna press VG on my keyboard, and then I'm gonna scroll down into structural connections, And then under structural connections, I'm gonna select my anchors and then press shift on the keyboard and select welds and then check everything and then say, okay, now my base plates do appear. And then I'm gonna select my base plate, right click on my keyboard. So we can't propagate the connection, so we're gonna have to do it manually. So I'm gonna select my base plate, select these two, press enter, base plate, now it appears, connections, base plate, enter, connections, these two, base plate, enter, and then connections, these two, base plate, enter, and connections, these two, base plate, enter, connections, these two, base plate, enter. Perfect. And now, so if I go to the structural plan, so this is the east elevation. So I'm just gonna open up the east elevation, change this to fine. So we're gonna place our beam that's gonna be set diagonally. So I'm gonna press VG just to see our base plate, and then go to structural connections and then check this, apply, and then okay. Now I can see my base plate. So from there, I'm gonna load in my beam insert, and then go to load family and say metric library, and then go to structural framing, and then steel, and then British standards, and then I'm gonna enlarge this. So for our beam, we're gonna go with a rectangular hollow section, 250 by 150 by 12.5. So rectangular hollow section, and then open. So it's gonna be 250 by 150 by 12.5, and say okay. We're gonna go to structure, beam, and then we're gonna set our reference to grade 1, remember, and say okay. And then from this moment, we're gonna draw our beam. So we're gonna take it to the right by to the left by 6,000 millimeters, but we're not gonna stop there. We're gonna select it and say and then we're gonna rotate, go to place, and then we're gonna place our insertion point from there, our rotation point from there, and then we're gonna rotate it upwards by, I think we can make it, I think 10 degrees is fine. And then from there, I'm just gonna drag it to the, so I'm just gonna select it, and then I'm gonna drag it to the right, and then add another 1000 millimeters. So in total, it's gonna be 7000 millimeters. And then I'm gonna select my column, and then go to modify column, select attach top base, and then make sure your constraints are set to attach column top, and then you're gonna select your beam. So I'm gonna select this one. So I think it's fine. We're gonna apply connections to this anyway. So you're gonna select your rectangular hollow section, go back to your, now you can open up your panels, structural plan, set this to fine just to see everything. And then I'm just gonna press view range that just to see everything, and then set my bottom to minus 4000 millimeters, and then my view depth to minus 4000 millimeters. Apply, and then okay, perfect. I'm gonna select my rectangular hollow section, and then I'm gonna copy it to the other columns. So we're gonna skip one, then copy it like this. Perfect. If you open up the 3D view, and this is what we have. So now we're gonna apply connections to this. So the connections we're gonna apply between our rectangular hollow section and our I section column, it's gonna be the gable wall end plate. So we're gonna go to steel, and then under connections, we're gonna select connections, select our beam and our column, and then under our families, we're gonna drop down and then search for gable. So it's this one. So it's gonna be gable wall and wall plate, and say press enter. And then as you can see, this is how it's connected, but we're gonna switch this. So we're gonna press this dot which says make primary, and then it's gonna change its position. So it's gonna be set like this. So this plate is applied like this, and then there are bolts on each side. Perfect. And now I want these connections to take effect on the other beams and columns where they intersect. So I'm going to select this connection, right click on my mouse and say propagate connections, and then everything is going to be copied to the other ones. So this is what we have. Now it's time to brace this. So we're going to add our bracing. So go back to the east elevation, and then on our east elevation, I'm going to go to structure. Actually, I'm going to go to insert and say load family, and then metric library, and then we're gonna go with structural framing, and then for our structural, and then we're gonna go to steel British standards, and then we're gonna enlarge this. So for our bracing, I think we can still go with the rectangular hollow section, and then we can say okay. And then this time we're gonna go with the small section. So we can go with, so we can go with 100 by 50 by 8 and say okay. Then go to structure in order for us to place it. Under structure, you're gonna go to beam, and then the reference is still set to grade 1. So from this, from level 2, I'm gonna offset it downwards by 1000, as you can see, and then I'm gonna place a horizontal beam like this. At the length is gonna be 4000. So I'm just gonna place it like this. And then obviously I'm gonna change its type, so it's 100 by 50 by 8. So perfect. This is what we have. Go to the 3D view, and this is how it looks. But we're not gonna stop there. Obviously, we're gonna apply connections to this. So we're gonna go to steel and then connection. Select my bracing and then my beam, and then on my properties, I'm gonna search for single tertiary, actually single tube. So it's going to be single tube brace cassette. So it's going to be single tube brace cassette. And press enter. And this is how it looks. And now I'm going to do the same thing this side. So it's going to be connection, our bracing, and our column. And then single tube brace cassette and press enter. Perfect. And then I'm going to select one of my connections. Actually, I'm going to select my bracing first, go to the panel floor plan, and then I'm gonna copy to the other beams and columns. Perfect. Go to the 3D view, and then I'm gonna select one of my connections for my bracing. Right click and say propagate connection. Now it's gonna be copied to the other ones. Now and then I'm gonna select the second one, right click, propagate connections, and now it's gonna be copied to the other ones. Perfect. And now the next thing is we're gonna have to place our beam system on top of our structural framings in order for us to place our solar panels. So in order for us to do that, we're actually gonna use the same sections, the same rectangular hollow sections. So we can let's go to the panels floor plan for this one. And then we're gonna go to structure, And then we're gonna go to beam system, and then we're gonna select our rectangle, and then from there we're gonna pick this point, and then we're gonna draw a large rectangle until we meet this point. Then we're gonna say fixed number. So we're gonna have to have, actually I'm gonna say maximum spacing, and then the total space is gonna be 1200, and the maximum space is gonna be 1200. And then for our beam type, we're gonna use 250 by 150 by 12.5 and say okay. So this is what we had. And now the next thing is I'm gonna go to the 3D view. And then obviously we're gonna have to place them at an angle on top of these diagonal framings. So I'm gonna say pick new, and then I'm gonna pick the top of my diagonal framings manually on the 3D view like this. So it doesn't work. Let's see. So this is how it looks. So if I go to the east elevation and then change this to wireframe, so this is how it looks. So I'm gonna select my beam system, and then I'm gonna drag it up so it doesn't work. So the next thing is I'm gonna select my structural framings, and then I'm gonna unpin them so that they no longer belong on the beam systems. So I'm just on the start level offset and end level offset. I'm just gonna say equals to, and then that varies. I'm gonna add it by 1 in order for me to adjust the levels so it doesn't work. So while it's still selected, I'm gonna press move, or actually press 1. Then I'm just gonna move it upwards like this. And then if I go to annotate and say spot slope, and then select this edit type, and then go to unit format, and then change this to degrees and say okay, so it's 10 degrees. Now I'm gonna remove it and then select these beams, and then I'm gonna change the cross section to 10 degrees. Perfect. I'm just gonna move them manually like this, and then I'm gonna select this beam and say Z offset, and then I'm gonna place it right on top of it. Right on top of my diagonal beams. So usually to do this faster, you can actually generate a curtain wall, a roof, and then you can actually modify that roof in order for you to place these structural framings automatically. So it makes it much faster and much more easy. So yeah, so this is the last one, and I'm just going to place it like this. Perfect. And then the next thing is, so this is what you are. So if I go to the panels floor plan, obviously, if I change the VR to maybe 4,000 for the top view and the cut plane to 4,000, I can see everything. Okay. So I'm just gonna select everything, then I'm gonna move it just to move it like this. So I can just remove it. Let me just. So I'm just gonna edit the boundary and the beam system, and then I'm gonna adjust it and move it like this. So this is how it looks, and say okay. Now actually the beams do not move now. So if I move the beams manually, I'm not sure if they're gonna move. Actually, they moved. So I think it's fine. And now if I go to the 3D view, this is how it looks so far. And now the next thing is we're gonna load in our panel families that we generated from our previous tutorial. So I'll leave a link in the description if you haven't seen it. So I'm gonna go to Insert, Load Family, and then I'm just gonna load in my family. So it's under the VDC project, crystalline solar panels, and then this is the family open. And then I'm gonna go to architecture component, and then I'm just gonna place my panel on top of our beams like this. So this is how it looks. But before we can place more of them, let's apply connections to our beam system and our structural framing. So for that, we're actually gonna use a single tertiary angle. So go to structure, and then under connect, go to steel actually, and then under connection, you're gonna select your beam, your two beams, and then under your properties, you're gonna search for single. You're gonna search for single tertiary angle. So you're going to select this one and press enter. And this is what we have. But obviously I want to change the orientation of this. So I'm going to select this dot. So it's going to be changed like this. So I want the primary to be this side. So I want it to be orientated this side like this. So I'm going to select this, right click, propagate connections. So it's going to be propagated like this. Now I'm going to apply the same connections for the other ones. So I'm going to go to connection, beam, two beams, single tertiary tube. We will change it like this, right click, propagate connections. Perfect. Okay, now it's applied everywhere. So I think that was a faster workflow. So now we're gonna adjust our panels, go to the panel floor plan. Now this is how it looks. So I'm gonna place it like, I'm just gonna nudge it right in the middle. So I'm gonna select my reference plane, and then I'm gonna place it right in the middle like this. And as you can see, it snaps when you use the parking base as a reference. So you can just adjust your panels right in the middle like this, and then make sure it's gonna be and then make sure it's going to be set in the middle of your beam like this. Perfect. You can select your panel, and then you can just say copy, and then you can copy it. And then you can just copy it like this. Okay, this actually flashes, so I'm going to select it and say copy again. Perfect. So I go to the 3D view, and this is how it looks. So I'm just going to select this and say pick a plane, and then I'm gonna place it right on top like this, and then do the same thing for others. And then I'm gonna place it like this, and then don't worry, we'll adjust that on the floor plan. And I'm gonna place it like this, and then this one also, pick the new, and I'm gonna place it like this. Go to the panels floor plan, and then we're gonna use this one as our reference, and then we're gonna adjust this one. So it doesn't work, so I'm just gonna select it, and then manually adjust it like this. So it doesn't work now. Align, okay, let me just remove this. Component, and then I'm going to place it like this. So if it's placed like this, let me just see if I can manually adjust it. So this is how it looks. Then you go to the 3D view. So this is how it looks. You guys can choose your own offsets and all those things. So I'm just going to select one panel, right click and say select all instances visible in view. Go to the panel, and then say mirror pickaxes, and then using these parking bases my reference, I'm just going to pick the middle and then it's going to be copied to the other side. So I'm going to do the same thing over and over until everything is copied to where it needs to be copied. And don't worry about these other annotations of the beams for our beam system. So this is what we have. Now, the next thing is I'm going to select everything except the parking base in our levels. And then I'm going to go to panels view. And then actually before that, I'm gonna go to, let's just go to the base floor plan. And then I'm gonna select DL for detail line, and then I'm gonna place actually I'm gonna place a detail line like this, which is 6,000 millimeters in length. And then I'm gonna place another one like this right in the middle. Go back to the 3D view, and then I'm gonna select my structure, go to filter, and then I'm just going to deselect my parking base and my levels, and then go to the base floor plan, select my mirror pickaxes, and then pick this detail one, and then everything is going to be mirrored towards the other side. So I'm going to say delete the element, and let's see what is removed. So what's removed right now is those other panels, but let me see something. If I remove these panels, then it will be easier to create them as a group and then mirror them again. Let's see what happens. Go to filter. Let's see if it's. So I'm gonna remove them. Select one panel, right click, select on instances visible in view. And then I'm gonna say create group. I'm gonna say okay, okay, go to my base, mirror pickaxes, click this, go to the 3D view, everything is copied to the other side. Perfect. So this is what we have. And now, obviously, you guys can place your own families. Can go to the base and then go to insert, load family, go to downloads. I think I've downloaded some families. Yeah. So you can just load in your families. So for your cars, you can just load in your families and then place your cars. So I'm gonna place the first one like this. So I'm just gonna align it like this. Then go to another one. So I'm gonna place it like this. Then if I go to the 3D view, this is how it looks. So if I change this to realistic, so this is how it looks. Perfect. So there you go. This is our solar panel parking. Hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial. I certainly did. If I go to graphics display option and then under shadows, I can select my cast shadows option and say apply and then okay. So this is how it looks. Thank you guys for watching. Please like and subscribe, and I hope I will upload more content. Please, I beg you to support my Patreon. I recently just started it, so I wanted to grow as much as I can. So yeah, Thank you guys for watching again. Thank you for subscribing. Let's get to 2000 and I'll see you on the next video. Peace.